Hi, today we're going to read the announcement. This is a grant announcement off of the grants.gov. It's NPS BAA announcement number 5, or no, NPS BAA announcement number 15.003, board agency announcement for research initiatives at a naval postgraduate school. Program description number 1, 2, awarded information, 3, eligibility information, 4, application submission information. As far as 1 through 7 go, it goes address to request application package, 2, format, content, submission of white papers, 3, format, content of full proposals, 4, submission of full proposals, Viva Grants.gov, Grants.gov significant dates is number 5, 6 is submission of late proposals, 7, funding restriction, 5, application review information, 6, award administration information, 7, award agency contact information, 8, other information. Introduction. This publication constitutes a broad agency announcement as contemplated by the Federal Acquisition Regulation FR 6.102D2. The Department of Defense grants an agreement DoD guards support Art 22315A and a formal request of proposals. A solicitation and additional information regarding announcement will not be issued. Neither the Naval Postgraduate School nor the contracting office of the Naval Supply System Fleet Logistics Center in San Diego will issue paper copies for the announcement. Interested parties are responsible for checking grants.gov or htmps.edu/research working with NPS Naval Postgraduate for possible amendment of the broad agency announcement. The Naval Postgraduate School (NPS) reserves the right to select and fund award all some of none of the proposals in response of the announcement. The Naval Postgraduate School provides no funding, direct reimbursement, proposal development costs, technical costs, and proposals. Any other material submitted with the response to the broad agency announcement will not be returned. If the policy in the Navy Postgraduate School and the Navy Postgraduate Supply System Fleet of Logistics Center in San Diego treat all purposes sensitive competitive information to discuss the contents only for purpose of evaluation. Potential grants are noticed, however, the governments may contract support personnel with appropriate non-disclosure agreements on the file to assist on a review technical submission. 1. Program description. 1. The requiring agency, Navy Postgraduate School. 2. Research opportunity, research initiatives at a Navy Postgraduate School. 3. Program not applicable. Program name not applicable. Research opportunity number is NPS-BAA-15-003. This announcement will remain open until 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time of August 31st, 2016, until replaced by a successor of the broad agency announcement. Proposal may be submitted at a time during this period. The announcement replaces the Navy Postgraduate School Board Announcement of 1404. The broad agency. Broad agency proposals may be submitted at a time during this period. The announcement replaces the Navy Postgraduate Broad Agency Announcements of 14004. Amendments to the broad agency announcements will be posted to one more following web pages: grants.gov and NPS broad agency announcements at http://www.nps.edu/research/work /research working with NPS HTML. 7. Research opportunity description. The Navy postgraduate is interested in receiving a proposal for research initiatives other than potential advancement and improvement in the naval and naval post-secondary schools. Core mission of the graduate education research. Readers should note that the announcement to declare the Naval Postgraduate Solicitation is a competitive funding of meritorious research and initiatives across the spectrum of science, engineering, business, politics, and public foreign policy and operational information sciences, interdisciplinary that are in line with the Navy Postgraduate Education Research mission. Additional information on the Navy Postgraduate School's graduate education research mission is available at nps.edu/about/index HTML or nps.edu/about/nps strat plan. Academic programs nps.edu/academic/index nps.edu/research index. Prior to the preparing proposals, potential offers should storage and encouraged to be contact the Navy Postgraduate School point of contact whose program research efforts best match the offer's field of the interest. The academic research links can be used to locate the appropriate point of contact or exploring the information provided with the faculty members of the Navy Postgraduate School research institutions or interdisciplinary centers and research groups. 8. Point of contact. Any question regarding the announcement must be provided with the points of contact listed below. All questions should be submitted in writing by email. The specific contact of the announcements are listed below. Alright, the question of technical nature should be submitted by the Naval Postgraduate School faculty point of contact whose program research interests best match the officer's field of interest. See Section 1.7. Questions general nature can be directed to Ms. Terry J. Grant Management Specialist, Research Sponsored Program Office of the Dean Research, Navy Postgraduate School. Email ba-at nps.edu or research@nps.edu. Questions of a business nature shall be directed to Ms. Janet Norton, Contract of Granite Officer, Navy Supply Unit Policy, Fleet Logistics Center, San Diego. Janet Norton at Navy and Mill. Or Ms. Terry J., Grant Management Specialist, Research Sponsored Program Office of the Dean's Research, Navy Postgraduate School. Questions and decisions needed regarding the Grants Gov registration process, system requirements, and submittal process shall be directed to Grant Gov's 1-800-518-4726 support and Grants Gov. Important notice regarding the question of the business nature. All questions shall be submitted in writing electronically. Questions submitted via telephone call, fax, message, and other means will not be provided the response. 9. Instrument types. Awards under the broad agency announcement may take form of grants. Competitive agreements as part of the contracts will not be awarded as a result of may take form of grant cooperative agreements as appropriate. Contracts will not be awarded as a result of BAA broad agency announcement. Offers should familiarize themselves with the instrument types and applicable regulations before submitting proposals. The following brief description is of possible award instruments. Grant. A legal instrument consisting of Title 31 U.S. Standard Code 6304 is used and entered the relationship where, 1, a principal purpose is transferring something of the value to an award recipient to carry a public purpose of support or stimulation authorized by an law of the United States rather than acquiring property service of the Department of Defense directly benefiting use. Substantial involvement is not appropriate for the Department of Defense and the recipient carrying out the activity contemplated by the grant. 3. No fee or profit is allowed. Grants are distinguished from the contracts, and the grants are provided with the financial assistance recipients conducted fairly anonymous programs of research which grants award recipient bear by prime responsibility design, management direction, conduct of research, exercise judgmental, original thought toward awarding scientific goals of broad parameters of research as areas proposed and the research provided. Although the grants supported by the Department of Defense must generally interest and must in some way have potential further the DoD mission, they must be tangibly related to the mission for the direct support to meet the specific DoD or Naval Post-Secondary Graduate goals of objectives, improve specific defense processes, procedure systems, policies, or contract appropriate instructions. Grant proposals must be also clearly define the public benefit that anticipated for the raw result of the broad dissemination of the research results of the scientific professional communities. The private sector, civil society, non-federal government, and foreign government proposals should not focus on potential benefits of the DoD, although they should be mentioned briefly in a white paper technical concepts section. And the full proposal of statement of work. Cooperative agreement. A legal instrument consistent with the Title 31 U.S. Standard Code 6305 is used to enter in the same kind of relationship as a grant. See definition grant except for the substantial involvement with expected between the DoD, the recipient, when carrying out the activity contemplated with the cooperative agreement. The term does not include the cooperative research development agreements as defined in 15 U.S. Standard Code 3710A. No fee profit is allowed. Contract or legal instrument consistent with Title 31 U.S. Standard Code 6303 reflects a relationship with the federal government and a state and local government contract. Other recipients, when the principal purpose of the instrument is to acquire property, services, and direct benefit for the use of federal government contracts, will not be awarded under BAA. Grants and cooperative agreements do not include delivery software, prototypes, hardware deliverables, and the primary deliverable is a report of the research findings. Grants and cooperative agreements must be in compliance with the Department of Defense grants and agreement regulations and Title II CFR 200 Uniform Guidance. 10. Catalog Federal Domestic Assistance, CFDA numbers 12300. Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance titles, Department of Defense Basic Applied Scientific Research. 12. Other information. Work funded under the broad agency announcement may include the basic research, applied research, some of the advanced research regarding the restriction conducting outcome of the work funded by the broad agency research. Broad agency announcement. The Navy postgraduate graduate will follow the guidance in definition. Contract will fund over research as provided with the under the Secretary definition of acquisition technology and logistic memorandum of May 2010. As defined in the definition, contract will fund over research, and the EOD contractual context includes search performed under the grant context funded by the research, development, test, evaluation, budget activity, or basic research, whether performed by the university, industry, or the funded by the budget to activity applied research performed on the campus at the university. The research will not be considered fundamental in those rare exceptional cases where the applied research effort presents a highly likelihood disclosing performance characteristics, military systems, manufacturing technologies, unique critical defense, where agreement of restriction have been recorded in the contract or grant. Pursuant to the DoD policy, research performed under grants and contracts are funded by the budget of Activity 6.2, applied research, and not performed on campus at a university. B, a funded budget of activity advanced research does not meet the definition of contracted fundamental research. In conformance with the USDL, AT&L, against the National Security Decision Direction of 189, Navy Postgraduate School will place no restriction on the conduct reporting unclassified contracted fundamental research except for otherwise required by state regulation and executive order. For the certain research projects it may be possible, although research performed by the primary contractor grantee is restricted, research subcontractor may be contacted obtain contracted fundamental research. In this case, it is the prime contractor grantee's responsibility. The proposal of identified describing the subcontracted unclassified research, including statement conforming that the work has been scoped, negotiated, determined in fundamental research according to the prime contractor grantee research performer. Normally, fundamental research is awarded under the grants, university, under contracts, and industry. Non-fundamental research is normally awarded on the contracts and may require restrictions during the conduct of the research. The DoD pre-publication review of such results due to the subject matter sensitivity. Potential offerers should consult with the appropriate Navy post-secondary school technical point of contact to determine whether the proposed effort would constitute basic research, applied research, and advanced research. FRA Part 35 restricts the use of broad agency announcements. Such this is the top of the This is to the acquisition, basic applied research, the portion of advanced technology development not related to development of specific system, hardware, and procurement. Grant and other assistance agreements made under the BEA scientifically study the experimentation direct towards the advance of the state-of-the-art, increasing knowledge of the understanding. Organization conflict of interest. All prospective grantees of the broad agency announcement are actual notices for the Department of Defense and Department of Navy collective rather than to, as a grantor, rely on the third-party contract support. Consolations, contractor employees with appropriate non-disclosure agreements, organizational conflicts, interests clauses, respectively contracts of the grantor may review grant proposals for administrative purposes, may be involved with the grant administration life and any awarded grant. If you have questions, concerns, please contact the business point of contact identified in Section 1.8 before submitting your proposal. The primary purpose of this announcement is to stimulate and support research grants, cooperative agreements. It is not for the acquisition, technical, engineering, or other types of support services. 2. Award information. 1. The amount of period in performance. The amount of period in performance of actual selected proposal will be depending on the research and technical approach of the selected officer. 2. Selected offer. 2. The type of awards. Government anticipates the awards of the cooperative agreements under the broad agency announcement. Number of contracts will be awarded under the broad agency announcement. 3. Eligibility requirements. All responsible sources, the U.S. academia or U.S. research institution or U.S. laboratories outside the federal government, U.S. industries, accredited foreign universities may submit proposals to the broad agency announcement. Federal funded research development centers, including the Department of Energy and Navy National Laboratories, are not eligible to receive awards of the broad agency. U.S. government schools of higher education, Navy laboratories, war centers, as well as Department of Defense, civil agency laboratories are not eligible to receive awards under the BA and should not be directly submitted in white papers for proposal or response to the broad agency announcement. And if any such organization is interested in research there described herein, the organization shall contact the BEA at nps.edu. University-affiliated research centers are eligible to submit proposals under the BEA unless procured for doing so by the Department of Defense UARC contract. Some topic may be covering export-controlled technologies for research, and they're limited to the U.S. persons defined in International Traffic Army Regulations, ITAR, Title II, CFR 110.21, 10th sequence. There's no limit to the number of proposals an institution can submit to the broad agency announcement. Cost of sharing matching is not required. Individuals are not eligible to apply. 4. The application and submission information. The address to request announcement package. The announcement may be accessed to the internet at the Grant Gov's website, the Grants.gov or HTTP /www.nps.edu/research/work with nps.html. Internet access is not available. Contact point of the business point of contact listed section 1 general information and 8 points of contact. Offers encouraged to submit a white paper in advance with a full proposal to minimize the labor or other costs associated with the production of detailed full proposal that may have little chance of being selected for funding. White papers and full proposals shall follow the format described under the proposal preparation section. All proposals shall be described how the research will advance the knowledge of the field of study, enhance the understanding, and have potential to provide directed benefit to the public. A grant can only be awarded to the principal purpose of the research effort to support the stimulated the public purpose research independent conduct. The cooperative agreement can only be awarded to the principal purpose of the research effort to support and stimulate public purpose. There is substantial collaborative involvement with the government. Titles given to the white paper's full proposal shall be described of the work and they cover not merely by the copy of the solicitation. White paper's full proposals submitted by under the broad agency announcement are expected to be unclassified. The research proposed is expected to be unclassified. All proposal submissions will be protected unauthorized disclosure of the accordance with the FAR, FAR's 15.207 applicable Department of Defense or Department of the Navy regulations. Supportment contracts may have access to technical submissions, validation, technical review of the Department of Defense and Department of the Navy will ensure that each support contractor will have adequate organizational conflict and interest clause in the respective support. Contractors will obtain the copies of relevant non-disclosure agreements between the contractor and its employees. White paper submissions, contents, form, and applications. A white paper format, paper size 8.5 by 11 inch, 1 inch margin, spacing single or doubled, font times 12 in New Roman, number of pages no more than 5 single-sided pages, excluding covered page, extracts, and resume curriculum, white paper exceeding the page limit, not to be evaluated. Only Microsoft Word and Adobe PDF files. Your 5 single pages are excluding your cover page, extract, resume, and curriculum veto bios. Cover page. The cover page shall be labeled in white paper, including the BAA number, the NPS BAA 1503. Proposed project title, descriptive type of question being researched, proposed length of project in months, otherwise administrative point of contact and telephone number, facsimile, and email address listed. Offers a technical point of contact, physical principal investigator with a telephone number, CISL number, email address listed, signature of an authorized officer, offerer institution. Project abstract, concise, single-space abstract, no more than 200 words summarizing the proposed research effort, including the name of the offerer, institution anticipated by public benefit, the type of the substitution, involvement of the government, cooperative agreement, proposed objects assessed, needed, and anticipated impact results. Technical concept. The brief project description shall include the research objective, including proposed research will address. Assess needed for the important summary of the key background research to inform proposed project research, design method, anticipated results, anticipated public benefits beyond the needs of the Department of Defense or Navy. For example, the result of drone research can be used in agricultural, marketing, research, management, public safety sectors, society provided with better goods and services to the public. Please contact the Navy postgraduate school technical point of contact if you're unsure what is meant by public benefit or purpose. Sample references for the scientific literature used to inform the study, names and titles of investigators, key person, including doctoral students and known general schedule activities, rough cost estimates. Total only. See white paper submissions. Only submissions made by Viva email will be considered. The white paper shall be sent to the email directly to the consistent and Navy postgraduate TPO technical point of contact with a copy to the BA@nps.edu. The email subject shall read the NPS BA 1503 white paper submission. If the offerer has not identified the Navy postgraduate top point of contact, send the white paper to the research nps.edu and ba.nps.edu. 3 grants and gov full proposal submission content format applications full proposal submitted but electronically at the at grants.gov using the application template of the package associated with the BEA detailed format content instruction. Assume the performance will start no earlier than 6 months after the notified full proposal has been recommended for award. The full proposal format, technical costs and proposals. Paper size 8.5 inches, margins 1, spacing single and double, font and type room and 12 point. Number of pages. The technical proposal is limited to no more than 40 single-sized papers, cover page, tablets, table contents, project extract, statement of working indexes, fold-outs, photographies, including cover page, table contents, project abstract, statement of work, indexes, fold-outs, photographies, and appendixes. The cost of proposal is limited to no more than 10 pages. excluding supporting documentation attached separately to PDF of the GrantGov application. The bios and CVS and resumes are attached together with the Adobe document grants.gov. Do not count toward the total pages of the technical proposal. Each bio or CV resume should be no more than 3 pages in length. Full proposal content, technical proposal, coverage page. This should include the words technical proposal at the top and the following: the broad agency announcement number NPSBAA 1503. Descriptive title of the proposed research. Identified of the prime offer institution completes the list of subcontractor subgrantees, if applicable, known at the time of the application. Technical contact, name, the type, and the address, the phone and fax, email address. Administrative business contact, name, the address, title, name, the phone, fax, email address. Proposed duration, effort of the format, number of notes from the time of the award, a differentiated basic effort, and a proposed option periods. Table of contents. An alphabetical numerical listing is a section with the proposal, including the corresponding page numbers. Proposed abstract. The proposed abstract must be appropriate for the public release, described in terms that publicly understand the project and programs supported. The project abstract should be single and identified with the research and problems, technical approaches, and anticipated outcome reaching research, summarizing the proposed research effort. It should identify the principal investigator, including the name of the offer, institution, anticipated public benefit, type of substantial involvement, government. If cooperative agreement is proposed, objectives, assessment, need, and anticipated impact results. The project abstract should concise with a single space abstract, not exceeding 1 page, using standard 8.5 to 11 inches paper with 1 margin, top, bottom, left, and right. The font Times New Roman chill point to be project attached to the project abstract with the add attachment to the grants.gov of the project extract. Mandatory form. Statement of work. A research description of the clearing of detailed scope, objectives, effort, technical approach. Proposed statement of work incorporated as an attachment to the result and award instrument. The full proposal must include a servable standalone statement of work, which is proprietary restrictions, controlled, unclassified information which be attached to the grant award. A major portion of the proposal should consist of a clear description, proposed technical approach. This discussion should be provided with a technical foundation, justification pursuing the particular approach, and why one would expect to enable the research objectives of the proposal. Within the technical approach, it includes detailed listed of research tasks and subtasks organized chronologically. If the statement of work proposed in conference, symposium, workshop, or strategic dialogue as part of the research method, the statement of work must describe the need of the gathering, how, and many meeting results expected to support the project objective. The conference expenses and federal grants are expected. The U.S. government confirms conference approval with the guidance of U.S. Office of Management Budget Memo, May 2012. See page 3 of the footnote 5 at the White House Gov sites, default files - Office of Management and Budget Memorandum 2012 Memo 212-2012. The statement of work proposing conferences and symposiums and workshops as part of the research method. The statement of work including the following information: rational stated objective on the event, the distinct project objective stated in the opening paragraph of the technical proposal. Statement of need of such gathering, qualifications, listing up 3 of the recent meetings on the same subject carried out by the offerer, including the dates and locations. Draft agenda, potential topic, the potential list of participants, location, probable date of the meeting, reason for the event, location. We'll start up against at the top for your rationale. The stated objective of the event is if the distinct from the project objectives is stated for the opening paragraph of the technical proposal. Statement of need for such as gathering qualifications. List up the 3 recent meetings on the same subject carried out by the offer, including dates and location. Draft agenda with the potential topics and potential list of participants, if known, location, probable date of the meeting, reason for event, location, plan for the recruitment and of support of speakers of other attendees, including participation groups under represented social security, underrepresented security studies, underrepresented minorities, women, and persons with disabilities. Management statement of how the meeting will be conducted, how the result of the meeting will be disseminated, how much of the meeting will contribute, enhancement, improvement of the scientific educational activities, estimated total budget of the event, measurable results, expected outputs that might be include progress reports, steering committees, subcommittees, meetings, event programs, participant biographies, final rosters, concept papers, conference papers, outcomes, expected results, effect, consequences will occur. The carrying out of the event was related to pragmatic goals and objectives. The project schedule and milestones. A table summarizing the schedule of research report activities and milestones because of the date awarded and known at the time of the application recommended in month 1, month 2, quarter 1, quarter 2 as or quarter 1, quarter 2 format as opposed to the name specific dates. The following are sampled reports that are typically provided under the grant funded research efforts. Do not include software, prototypes, hardware as deliverables, technical financial progress reports, quarterly presentation materials, technical finance reports, final public purpose for all types of research, including concise statement of how the proposed research supports stimulates public purpose. Rather than providing a specific benefit by the Department of Defense, the Department of Navy, the public benefit statement is important part of the evaluation award process. The management approach, the discussion overall approach to the management of the effort, including the brief discussion of total organization responsible various personal subcontractors, subrecipients, relationships through the project, their function, if any government research interfaces, plans, scheduling, oversight practices, identify the personal and subcontractor subrecipients, will be involved in the description of facilities that were required of the program, the description of government furnished equipment, hardware, software, and information required by version and other configuration. Offer and qualifications. Discussion previous accomplishment of research or offer institution. This is closed in related areas. Discussion of qualification of proposed principal investigators, other key personnel. Brief circular vietas are attached to separately in Grants.gov. Statement of research status. Concise statement of that identifies whether the proposed research is a follow-in effort of the prior to Navy postgraduate school award. It describes the proposed project extends and enhances the prior effort. They identify the application received prior to awards Navy postgraduate school, and if so, give the status of deliverables for those awarded. Current pending and project proposal submission. Principal investigators, key personnel are required to provide information on all current pending supporting ongoing projects proposals, including subsequent funding in the case of continuing contracts and grants and other assistance agreements. Offers should provide the following information: any related proposal submission, whatever source, Navy postgraduate school, federal, state, local, foreign government agencies, public, private foundations, industrial, other commercial agencies, organizations. The following information must be provided with the proposal or already submitted concurrence to the other possible sponsors, including the Navy postgraduate school. Concurrent with the submission of proposal to the organization will not prejudge to the review of the Navy postgraduate school, including the following of the funding of the research project that takes place while the principal investigator time that keep the key personnel even if they receive no salary support from the project. Title of the proposal, 1 or 2 sentences summary, source, sponsor, funding, total award amount, contract grants for the current contracts and grants. Percent effort devoted to the project. This can be the number of the person's month of labor hours per year. Person's effort devoted to the project. This can be a number of person's months or labor's hours per year. Identified primary effort, complete list of subcontractors, if applicable. Technical point of contact, name, address, phone, fax, email address. Administrative business point of contact, name, address, phone, fax, email address. Period of performance. How the project is related to proposed effort of the degree of the overlap, if applicable. See the full proposed content. Cost proposal. The cost proposal, which is a narrative explaining the justifying the budget figures in detail, must include all figures, calculations, supporting documentation to determine the cost, allowability, allocatability, responsibility, reasonableness, justification. Costs must be explicitly stated. Two budgetary documents other than the cost proposal are required. First, the offeror shall use the grant gov's budget forms, including the standard form SF, research-related RR, budget form for the Grants Gov application package template associated with the broad agency announcement, and located at the Grants Gov. Second, a separated Adobe PDF shall be uploaded online application materials, providing the appropriate verification and supporting documentation for each of the element costs proposed. In addition, with the narrative, offerers may elect to include, as part of the cost of the proposal, a spreadsheet showing calculations, unit and price per number of the units, more detailed possible as required, standard form, SF, research-related budget form. However, the inclusion of more than detailed spreadsheet is not a substitute for a detailed narrative that explains calculations. Justify inclusion budget items states a basis of an amount listed, nor the substitute for the required budget form of the grant govs. Cost proposed must conform to the following principles, procedures. Educational institutions, entitled CFR 200 Uniform Guidance E. Nonprofit organization, Title 2 CFR 200 Uniform Guidance Subpart E. Commercial organizations, FARS Part 31, DFARS 231, FARS Subject 1540. 4035 and DFARS Subject 215 4035 through 403 through 5. For the nonprofit organization, specifically accepting the provisions appendix of 7 to the Title 2 CFR 2000 FARS Part 31 and DFARS Part 231 shall apply. The cost proposal narrative must include the following: direct labor, individual labor categories of personal associated percent, annual effort, unburdened direct labor rates, annual salary, alternative number of total hours, hourly rate of the provided the proposed period cost, official years, the provided escalation rates for each of the official year period. Clearly state the escalation rates used in calculations. Provide supporting documentation varying individual labor for each of the known individual. This may include the recent payroll receipts, individual signed statement for the salary rate and hourly rate, level appointment of the officer's sponsored agreement program, office of Human Resource Office is for the reason for you identified. Provide guidance in the schedule for the labor category. Label category will be used for the label category as appropriate. Administrative and clerical labor, salaries and administrative clerical safety staff are normally indirect costs. If they include the indirect cost rate, direct charging of the cost may be appropriate for the major project requirements. Requires that the extensive amount of the administrative clerical support significantly greater than normal and routine level of support. Budget proposing direct charging and administrative clerical salaries must be supported by the budget justification, which adequately describes the major project administrative and clerical work to be performed. Fringe benefits. The cost of the proposal narrative must include the rates and calculations of the cost of each labor category person. The salary amount which is applied to the sum of the total of each of the labor category persons. If the rate has been approved and negotiated with the government agency, provided as a copy for the memorandum agreement, the rates applied with the common rates, and the rates have not been approved and negotiated, provided with sufficient detail and determination, allowability, allocated reasonability, allocation basis, how with the rates calculated according to the applicable to Title 2 CFR 200 Uniform Guidance of FARS to FARS provisions. Travel. The proposed travel cost should be included in the following or each trip, the purpose of the trip, origination and destination if known, origin typical known, if destination is unknown, state basis for estimating travel costs, estimated duration, number of travelers, estimated cost per trip. Cost must be based on organizational history, historical average cost per trip, other reasonable basis of estimation. Some estimations result in costs. The claim must conform to the applicable federal cost principles. Explain what the travel necessary, cost-effective component of the technical approach methodology, as well as the travel destination as was chosen is unknown. Provided a copy of the officer's institution travel policy. Provided documentation for the proposed airfare costs such as internal quotes of the travel website. If hosting a workshop or other type of the meeting with particular travel costs is requested for the budget outline, the costs include both best estimates, origin, destination, approximate durations, number of travelers, estimated cost per travel, available, include the tentative agenda, roster, participation, original affiliation, and not available state of the home how many participants are anticipated with the U.S. government, how many for the outside U.S. government. Funds are provided and cannot be used as payment of the payment to any federal government employee for support some substances or services in connection with the participation meeting sponsored through this award. Subawards and typically a grant cooperative agreement for the offer. Another institution may include the subcontractor should be utilized for the offer deems necessary for achieving project objectives, provided with a description of the work and performed with the sub-recipient for each of the sub-award detailed cost proposal required for the sub-recipient must include the proposal for the offer. Alternative to the proposed awardees and sub-recipients cost proposal can be provided with the Viva email directly to the NPS General Comp POC or at the BA NPS EDUs. At the same time, the prime proposal is submitted. The email must identify with the proposal title, primer, offerer, and the attached proposal of subcontract sub-agreement. This proposal supporting documentation may receive and viewed before the government can complete its cost analysis of the prime offerer proposal entering negotiations. Provided specifications as follows: description of the work with the performed, if known, identification proposed sub-award, explanation of how the sub-award was selected or will be selected, identifying the type of award to be used, grant, contract, cost, reimbursement, fixed price, etc. Whether or not the award will be competitive or non-competitive, rational, justifying the absence of competition, a detailed cost summary. Consultants. Offers normally are expected to utilize the service for their own staff. The maximum offers normally expect to utilize the service of their own staff to maximize the extent possible managing and performing the project efforts. The need for the consultant services anticipated with the nature of proposed consultant services must be justified, including the technical proposal. If known at a time of the application, the cost proposal must include the name of the consultant's primary organization affiliation, each individual expertise, breakdown of the consult hours, the hourly rated proposed, and other proposed consulting costs such as the established travel cost, peer deem rates, provided with a copy of the signed consultant agreement or the other documentation supported with the proposed consultant rate of the cost and the copy of the consultant proposed statement of work, if it is not already separated and identified with the prime officer's proposal. If the consultant service is anticipated but not under the contract, provide expertise required for the estimated consultant's total hours, the hourly proposed, any of the other anticipated costs, such as an estimated travel cost per deem rates, provided the documentation similar to the work conducted, someone with similar expertise level experiences. Materials and supplies, provided with the itemized list of proposed material supplies, includes the quantities utilized, proposed vendors, and the basis of the estimate quotes and prior purchases, catalog price lists, including supporting documentation estimated, provided with a copy, organization, purchasing, and policy process. Recipients acquired for the equipment and facilities. Equipment and other facilities are normally furnished with other recipient. If acquisition or equipment and facilities is proposed, a justification for the purchase of the items must be provided with the itemized list of the equipment, and or facilities, as well as the basis of them supporting documentation, estimated quotes, prior purchases, catalog price costs. Allowable items normally would be limited to research equipment not already available for the project, generally purpose equipment not used exclusively for the research, scientific, technical activities such as personal computers, officer general purpose equipment not used exclusively for research, scientific, or technical activities, such as personal computers, office equipment, or furnishing, should not be requested unless they will be used primarily exclusively for the project. For a computer laptop purchase, other general purpose equipment is proposed, including indicating how in each item equipment is integrated with the program using integral part of the research effort. Other direct costs. Provide an itemized list of the proposed direct costs such as the graduate assistant tuition, laboratory fields, report publications, the basis for the estimate, the tuition schedules, quotes, prior purchases, catalog prior lists, in addition with the starting of the basis of the cost estimate, including supporting documentation where possible. If the technical approach includes a hosted conference, work on the dialogue, and other type of the meeting, including the estimated cost of the meeting venue, describe how the venue will be selected by the criteria will request it to the conference page to support the cost estimate, including both the past revenue involved, this is initial quotes of likely venues, and in rare instances, means are provided with the participation fund with the grant funds that are in essential work groups. The objectives, however, to repeat the payment of the meals as the part of the workshop should be exception no rule. The federal grant of the money of the grantee must justify the expeditionary research necessity meals and refreshment, but must be in part of the working session. And an honoraria would be offered for the workshop participation, provided unit cost expected number of the honoraria. Statement based on the cost estimate. Such experiences host similar events, similar caliber presence to the past or honorary received principal investigator for similar research presentation. Government participation may not receive honoraria. Indirect costs, or i.e. F&A, overhead, or GA, and describe the rates of the calculation of the cost of each regulatory rate. Describe the rates and calculation and cost of rate of the category listed on the base on which the rate is applied. The rates have been approved and negotiated with the government agency, provided with a copy of a memorandum agreement. The Initiative of Assisted Workforce IAW Title CFR 240-414. Any federal entity that has never received a negotiated indirect cost rate except for the non-federal entities described in Appendix 7 of the Title CFR 200 may elect to charge the de minimis rate of the 10 modified total direct costs, which may be used indefinitely. If the rates have not been approved, negotiated, provided sufficient detail to enable to determine its allowable allocatability, reasonable allocation basis, how the rate is calculated in accordance to applicable off the management budget circulars of the forest provisions. Officers' disclosure should be sufficient to permit the full understanding of the rate of the content. However, to be established, a minimum of submission should be identified. All individual cost elements include the forecast rate, the basis of the prorated indirect expenses, the cost pools, if and how the rate was calculated, distribution basis, developed rate, basis of the overhead rate calculated by salaries and wages, total costs, and period of the offer's official year. Additional information may be requested if needed, and the composite rates are used to provide with the calculations used in deriving the composite rates. Fee profit. The fee profit is unallowable under grants, cooperative agreements, and if fee profit is unallowable for under grants and cooperative agreements at either the prime or sub-award level, may be permitted to subcontracts issuing the prime award. Failure to adequately provide detailed cost data required by the FLC of the San Diego grant officer to contact the proposing organization requesting information. This will result in the delay of the award. All officers required to submit thoroughly detailed cost breakdowns of the FLC San Diego grant officer must be able to determine the proposed cost, allocatability, allowable, reasonable, detailed budget narrative with the facility of the cost analysis. The full proposal content, bibliographical information, or curricula vitae. Bibliographical information or curricula vitae for each of the key participations should address the following 3 pages and 3 pages or less per person. List of current most relevant past professional experience. List of advanced degrees earned, including degree type, discipline, department, institution type of these desertions. List of publications, professional activities, patents, honors, awards, other accomplishments. Information describing any research specifically related to proposed project, relevant experienced investigators, description and involvement in other research projects currently undertaken by the applicant, whether or not applicant acting as a principal investigator. These documents are combined into the one PDF file updated to the place indicated in the sub in grants.gov. For the submission of full proposal via the grants.gov website, all grant and cooperative agreement full proposals shall be submitted with the grant govs using the application package term associated with the broad agency announcement, and additional documents attachment described should be generated and uploaded attached for the indicated of the grants gov. Registration requirements for the grant gov. These several one-time actions you must complete in order to submit an application through the grant gov, including obtaining the Duns Bradstreet Data Universal Number, registering a system award, registering a credential provider with the credential provider, registering with grant govs using the grant gov website processing. GrantGovs.web grant home grants web grant application grants web grants application grant application process. Designation of e-business point of contact. Obtaining special passwords called MPIMs. Important steps of the SAM registration. Applicants who are registered in the SAM with grants should always allow 21 days for completion of the requirements. It is suggested the post stated as possible. Questions relating to registration processing system requirements, how application form works, the middle process, directed to grants gov at 1-800-518-4726 or 545-5035 foreign applicants email support at grants.gov. Note that completing Block 17 of the SF 424 R&R, the grant application is provided with the certificate lobbying required of the Title 32 CFR Part 28, referring to Section 6, Award and Administrative Information entitled Certification for Information. B. The grants gov and the full proposal submission. Applications and the forms instruction available for the grant gov to access and material. These materials go to the grant gov to select, apply the grant, select the download application package labeled the funding opportunity NPS BAA 15003, which is designated the research opportunity number. On the page of the two of this announcement, click on the button labeled the download package. Follow the instruction grant govs to complete the application. It is recommended that you complete the standard form at 424 R&R, which is populated date and end forms. Complete the required in accordance with the POP instruction on the form. To activate the instruction, turn on the help mode icon pointer question mark at the top of the form. All offers and must complete and submit even must complete and submit 7 mandatory field forms listed below. Applicable optional forms: the FF, the standard form, LLL, disclosure of lobbying activities in accordance with the instruction forms, additional instruction provided by the board agency announcement forms included with the application provided package is available with the grants gov posted in the broad ed award announcement. You have your standard form 424 and R research and R&R application of federal assistance, R&R budget narrative, SFB assurance non-construction program, R&R's other project info, R&R senior key personnel project abstract. All of these items of the grants application submitted with the grant govs must be in Adobe PDF or unless otherwise specified in the announcement. Prior information must be included in submitted forms, supporting documentation, cost proposals. All such information should be noted in asterisks and at the beginning at the end of the priority information. Alternatively, a page considerable priority information can be displayed the same priority information in the header or footer. Statements of work and technical proposals should not include proprietary information or other restricted protected information. Application must be self-contained with specified page limitations. Internet web address. All applications must have self-contained with specified page limitations. Internet web addresses, with the exception of cost of proposals, supporting documentation, offer policies, and procedures, may not be used to provide information necessary for review because the reviewers are not under no obligation to view the internet sites. Certification and assurances. Certification regarding lobbying activities. Grant and cooperative agreement awarded greater than $100,000 requires certification compliance with national policy mandated concerning lobbying. Grant application should provide certification electronic submission of standard form 424 R&R as a part of the electronic submission to the Viva Grants Gov. Complete block 17. The following certification applies to each of the applicants seeking federal assistance of exceeding $100,000. No federal appropriated funds have been paid or will be paid on the behalf of the applicant. Any persons influencing, attempting influence of an officer, employee of an agency, a member of the Congress, or officer, employee of the Congress, employee of the member of Congress, connection with the award of the federal contract, making of the federal grant, making the federal loan, entering a loan into any of agreement or the extension, continuation, renewal, amendment of the modification, federal contract, grant, loan, or cooperative agreement. 2. If any of the funds, federal appropriated funds have been paid or paid by the current person influencing, attempting influence, officers or employee of any agency, member of the Congress, officer or employee of the Congress, employee of the member of Congress, connection with the federal grant, loan, and cooperative agreement, the applicant should complete with the submit standard form LL, disclosure of the form, report lobbying in accordance with the instruction. 3. The application shall require the language certification shall be included with the award documentation, sub-award, the subcontracting, sub-grants, contracting, or grant and cooperative agreements that all recipients shall be certified and disclosed accordingly. Certification material representation factor reliance was placed on the transaction made in the entered submission certification prerequisite making during the transaction imposed in section 1352 title 31 U.S. Standard Code. Any person who fails to file and required certification shall be subject to civil penalty on not less than $10,000, no more than $100,000 for each failure, for each such failure. Significant date and times. The announcement will remain open until 4 p.m. of 31st of August 2016. Proposals may be submitted at any time during this period. Submission of late proposals not applicable. Funding restrictions. Award selection notification. No Navy postgraduates shall be regarded as of any for authorization performance committed with the expending funds of the government is obligated with the provided funding of the government grant officers, the Navy supply system for FLC San Diego signs respective award document. Costs incurred, advances, signed grant and cooperative agreements are solely responsible for the prospective grantee. 5. Application review information. Run the evaluation criteria. Award decision will be based on competitive selection and proposal resulting in scientific, technical, or cost review. Evaluation conducting using the following evaluation. Overall scientific, technical merits of the proposal, including quality, rigor, technical merits of proposed effort, feasibility, appropriateness of the research design and methodology, potential impact of the research results, academic publication potential of research results. B. Potential expansion of the knowledge about issues and technologies, phenomena related to national security, anticipated benefits of the new knowledge of the general public, potential relevance to U.S. national security, U.S. Navy, and Navy postgraduate school research mission. The offering institution capabilities related to experiences, facilities, techniques, or other combinations which are integral factors of achieving a proposed objective. F. The qualifications, capability, experience of the proposed principal, investigator, team leader, and other key personnel. Critical achievement of the proposed objectives must commit time, attention to ensure the success project. Concurrence, allowability, allocatability, reasonableness of cost proposal, and availability of funds. 2. Technical cost to evaluation panel. The technical cost proposal submitted with the broad agency announcement will be protected from unauthorized disclosure in accordance with the FARS 3, 104 and 5, 104 and 105, 1502, 07. Cognizant Navy post-secondary schools principal investigator and or technical expert drawn of the government industries, academia, and perform evaluation of technical purposes. The government proposal and professionals will evaluate and cost proposals. Restrictive notice notwithstanding one board is supporting contract may consult technical subject matter export. Similar support contracts may be authorized to evaluate cost proposals. Each support contractor employee having assessing technical cost proposal submitted in the response of this BEA required a signal disclosure to statement of the prior to the receipt of any proposal submission. Proposed selection, award, decision, responsibility, government personnel. 3. Evaluation time. This is an open-ended BEA application received and evaluated rolling basis with differing times during the period of the BEA period. 6. Award administration information. The award notice. Should you propose to be selected for an award, government technical POC shall notify you via email. Award section notification of the government technical point of contact must be regarded as an authorization being performance of the committee and expended funds of the possible office will be contacted or granted contracting officers negotiating the terms of the award. The government is not obligated to provide any of the funding of the government grant office from the Navy's supplemental FLC San Diego signs the respective award document. Costs incurred in advance of the signed grants and the comparative agreements are solely responsibility for prospective grants. Administrative and national policy requirements. An award issue result in an announcement subject following the administrative costs and national policy requirements contained in the Department of Defense grant agreement regulations. DoD GARS 32110 6.6R. Electric companies DeGars may be found at this website. 2 CFR code, Title 2 CFR 200 Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost, Principal Audit Requirements, Federal Award, Uniform Guidance, Federal that at this ECFR Gov, Federal Acquisition of FARS 31.2 Contracts and Commercial Organizations, farsighthill.afl.mil. Special requirements may apply to the particular federal awards for review the application and other information based on particular circumstances of the effort to support if the human subject involves some situations that must have special terms and intellectual property daring to share and security requirements. 3. In general reporting requirements included quarterly interim progress reports, quarterly financial reports, first technical report, final financial report, final patent report, and additional reports may be required based on the research conduct. 7. Award agency contact information. For the information, Section 1, General Information Point 8. 7. Other information. 1. Security classification. In order to facilitate the intra-program collaboration technical transfer, the government will attempt to enable technology developers to work the unclassified level to the maximum extent possible. Excessive classified material will be required at any during the performance of offer. Must clear the identifying such prominent proposal and unclassified final report is required in order to the general public may benefit for the research findings. A statement of work technical proposal must be unclassified but must contain the controlled unclassified information. The government does not provide access classified material secured facilities under grants. 2. The use of animal or human subjects in research. If an animal is to be utilized in research effort proposed, the offerer must comply with the prior to award of the DoD animal use protocol supporting documentation of the copy, the ALAC accreditation, NIH assurance, IACUC approval, research literature database search, 2 most recent USDA inspection for assistance in submission of animal research related documentation, contact Navy postgraduate schools grant management specialist BAA and NPSA. For research proposals involving human subjects, authors shall submit the part to the award documenting improving institutional review board, institutional review board approved search and protocol, institutional review board for consent and form approval content completed by the human research training certificate installation verification of training. Application of the DoD Navy addendum of the Office of the Department of Homeland Security issued to the Federal Wide Assurance website, the Federal Wide Assurance FWA offerers of DoD and Navy addendum. The exception of the criterion under the Title 32, the CFR 219-101 be claimed provided documentation determination initials institutional review board chairman, institutional review board vice chairman, designated institutional review board, administrative official human research protection program, including categories exception short rational statement. If the research is determined to be an institutional review board greater than the minimal risk, the officer shall provide the name, contact information from independent medical monitor, and the documentation shall be submitted to the National Post-Secondary School Institution Review Board Administrator, the National Post-Secondary Grant Management Specialist, BAA, NPS.edu. 3. Protection of proprietary or sensitive information. The parties now acknowledgement that during the performance of the grant resulting from the BEA, a recipient may require the access to certain proprietary or credential information, whether original derived form submitted with the procedures of the government. Such information includes but not limited to the business practice, proposals, design, missions, operation, consignment, sketching, management policies, concept, cost, operation, expense, technical data, trade secrets, proposed Navy budget information, acquisition planning, acquisition actions, and obtained either directly, indirectly as a result of the performed on the behalf of the Navy post-grad school. The recipient shall take an appropriate step on the not only to safeguard information but also to prevent disclosure of information to any part of the government. The recipient agrees to coordinate the company person who will have access to custody information concerning the nature of the confidential terms under the government receives of such information are and shall stress that the information shall not be disclosed to any of the party. The recipient person who do not need to know the contents, therefore the performance of the contracting agreement. Recipient person shall be informed that they shall have not engaged for any other action, venture, employment with information used to for any purpose any other part. As set forth by the herein, the recipient acknowledges that and agrees that the third party support of the contract may accept the technical information submitted by the recipient. The government will ensure the contractor or employee sign a no disclosure assignment agreement with the employer on the record. The government will ensure the contractor or employer likewise has signed an organizational conflict on the conflict of interest clause of the government precluding the exploitation of any kind of non-public data access to the result of the government contract efforts. 4. Conflicts of interest. Organization conflicts of interest. All first and principal investigators proposed subcontractors shall inform that they provided scientific engineering technical assistance, or SE scientific engineering technical assistance SETA, similar support of the Navy postgraduate school office or underlying support. Sponsor of research of an active contract or subcontract. All affirmations shall state the officer's support in identifying prime contractor normers. Affirmation shall be furnished at the time of the proposal submission. All of the facts relevant to the extent of the potential existence of organizational conflict of interest shall be disclosed. The disclosure shall include the discretion action officer have taken the proposal to avoid neutralizing, mitigating such conflict in accordance with the FARS 9.503 without prior approval. The contractor cannot simultaneously scientific engineering technical assistance and research development perform and propose fail to fully disclose potential conflicts of interest shall be rejected without technical evaluation withdrawn for the further consideration of the further award. Post-employment conflict interest. The criminal laws and standard conduct of the regulations may apply to the current of the form of the government employed military officers who draft, assist in drafting contract grant proposals are named the principal investigators alternative grant proposals. See Title 18 U.S. Standard Code 203 through 207. The restriction may apply to reservists on the active duty employees who served on the Federal Advisory Board of Council within the last 300 days or special government employees. According to the authors submitting grant proposals required identifying the potential post elements, conflict interest of the grant officer, the government employee, employee broadly defined within including the military members and specific government employees, reservists participating in proposal drafting and or is named principal investigator, alternative principal investigator. If the prospective officer conflicts of interest exists and may exist when the organization otherwise question the constituting conflict of interest, the proposer shall send his or her contact information summary of the potential conflict to the broad agency announcement at the Navy Post-Secondary School Education before the time after the extended proposal mitigation. Be advised that the grant officer reserves the right to his or her discretion without hold award he or she determines consolation to offer a Navy legal counsel if there is any conflict interest standard of the conducting with the organization or otherwise. 5. Acknowledgement of postgraduate support, Navy postgraduate support. Navy postgraduate full partial support of the shall be acknowledged in journal articles, books, oral, poster presentation, new releases, interviews, reporters, communications. Any documentation, development, and award agreement resulting in the broad agency announcement and in the distribution of the public inclusion scientific and technical journal shall include the following statement. The publication was developed under the research by the Navy Postgraduate School Award Number, the Award and Navy Supply Fleet Logistics Command, San Diego. It has not been formally reviewed by the Navy Postgraduate School. The views and conclusions contained in the documentation are those that the author should not be interpreted as necessary as representing official policies expressed and implied by the Navy Fleet Logistics Company and Center at San Diego, or in the Navy Postgraduate School. The Navy Supply Fleet Logistics Center at San Diego and Navy Postgraduate School do not endorse products or commercial services mentioned in the publication. 6. Military recruiting on the campus. Military recruiting on the campus of DoD Guards Part 2022 applies to domestic U.S. colleges or universities. Appropriate language of the Title 32 CFR 22.552 campus access to military recruiting reserve officer training corps will be incorporated in all university grant awards. 7. Intellectual property applies to the cooperative agreements. Officers responding to the broad agency announcement shall submit the separate list of the technical data computer software that will be furnished to the government and unlimited rights. The government will assume unlimited rights. The offer they identify with the intellectual property restriction proposals include the section proposal priority claims, the result prototypes, deliverables, and restriction are intended for the offer shall note that none shall state none. 8. The Federal Funding and Accountability Transparency Act of 2006. The Federal Funding and Accountability Transparency Act of 2006, Public Law 109-282, as amended by the Section 6202 of Public Law 110-252, requires all agencies establish requirements for the recipient reporting information subawards, executive total compensation codified with the Title II CFR 33-110. Any company, nonprofit agency, or university applies for financial assistance, either grants, cooperative agreements, or other transaction agreements as either prime or sub-recipients of the broad agency announcement shall provide information of the proposed described necessary processes, systems in place to comply with the requirement as identified in Title 3 of Code Federal Regulation 3322. And any exception of the requirement unless the preceding fiscal year has received an 80% or more of the annual gross revenue of the federal contract, subcontractor, loan grants, and subgrants, cooperative agreements, B, $25 million or more annual gross revenue from the federal contractor, subgrants, loans, grants, or subgrants, cooperative grants, and the public does not have to have access to information compensation senior executive period reports filled under section 13A and 15D, the Secretary Exchange of 1934, section 610 Revenue Code of 1986. 9. Representation regarding unpaid delinquent tax liability or felony conviction under the federal law of the DoD operations. All grant applications are required to complete with the representation of tax delinquency felony conviction found at ONR at Navy.mil, contracts, grants, and submitted proposal, grants, and proposal ASPX. Checking I agree blocks on the block, attaching the representation of block 18 to the standard form 424 R&R as part of the electronic proposal submitted by the VA grant govs. The representation reads as follows: the application represents this and blank and is not in blank a corporation that has been unpaid federal tax liability assessed with which all judicial administrative remedies have exhausted lamps or that have not been paid in timely manner pursuant to the agreement of the authority responsibility for collecting tax liability. The applicant represents blank and is not blank a corporation that is convicted of felony criminal violation under federal law within the preceding 24 months. No, if the applicant responds to the affirmative to either the above, the representation of the applicant is ineligible to receive an award unless the agency submission of the Department of unless the agency to receive an award unless the agency's suspension debarment official has considered suspension debarment determined a further action not required to protect the government interest. The application therefore shall provide information about the tax liability conviction agencies as to do so, and soon as it can do is facilitate completion of required consideration before decisions are made. Reporting executive compensation, first tier and subcontract awards. The FARS Clause 52204 10 through 10, reporting executive compensation and first-tier subcontract rewards, will be used to procurement contracts valued at $25,000 or more. Similar award will meet the use of the grants and cooperative agreements. 11. Recombinant DNA. Proposals, experiments of recombinant DNA shall include the documentation compliance with the Department of Human Health Services recombinant DNA regulations approval and institutional biosafety committee and copy of the Department of Homeland Security approval of the IBC letter. 12. The government property and government furnished equipment and facilities, government research property facilities, operational military use and available shall consider the property government furnished equipment and facilities. The facilities research at the High Valley Summit, the constant demand of the multiple programs. It's unlikely the facilities would be used for any one of the specific programs. The use of facilities resources will be negotiated, but the program unfolds. An offer should explain what is part of the proposal, which of these facilities are criteria for project success. Updated information regarding responsible matters. FARS Clause 52209 and 9. Updated public availability information regarding responsibility matter will be included in contracts valued at $500,000 or more. Contract is currently active. Federal contracts with grants with total value greater than federal contracts and grants with a total value greater than $10 million. Representation regarding the prohibition of the use of the federal FYI funds and entities requiring the certain internal confidential agreements. Agreement to the representation below shows the affirmed checking of the agreed box of Block 17 of the SF 424 R&R. As part of the electronic proposal submitted with the grant grabs, the representation reads as follows. When submission of the proposal of the application represents but does require any of the employees of the contractor subrecipients seeking to report fraud, waste, and abuse of the sign and comply with the integral internal confidential agreements, statement prohibiting otherwise restriction of the employees, contract subrecipients for lawful reporting of waste, fraud, and abuse to the designated investigation law enforcement representative, federal department agency authorized to receive the information. Note that 1. The basis of representation and prohibiting in Section 743 of the Financial Services General Government Operations Acts of 2015 Division of E. The consolidated further continuation appropriations of Act 215 Public Law 113-235. Any successor provision law making fundamentals available for the grant cooperative agreements to intact and these are certain internal confidential agreement statements in Section 2. Section 743 states that it does not contravene with the requirements applicable for the Standard Form 312 or Form 4414, any form issued in federal department agency governing non-disclosure of classified information. And once again, that was this is the Navy Postgraduate School broad agency announcement for research initiatives grant. Kinda.